Hello and welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Welcome to our latest episode, everybody. I'm joined by Jamila Conley, who is the founder and CEO of WeRise Wines, a soon-to-be-opened wine shop, wine bar, bottle shop, and restaurant in downtown Seattle. Jamila was most recently the VP of Global Talent Acquisition at F5 and held VP roles in the company prior to that, including mergers and acquisitions and IT products. And she also worked in senior leadership at T-Mobile in software development. She sits on the board of the Technology Access Foundation, the Seattle Chamber, and is on the One Seattle Civic Partnership, a committee working to revitalize downtown Seattle that I have the pleasure of serving on alongside Jamila. She's an adjunct professor at the University of Washington, and she has left the corporate world behind to launch a wine shop that will be her first wine shop / restaurant, wine bar that she's open. And she talks to us about the concept and the origin story, how she came up with this idea and its aim of highlighting diverse winemakers throughout the country and the world. And we talk about the process she's gone through to start this business and finding a space in downtown and the strong support she got from the city and specifically the city's Office of Economic Development. So I hope you enjoy my conversation with Jamila Conley, the founder and CEO of WeRise Wines. Thank you for making time and coming over.
Absolutely.
Coming on Seattle City Makers. You're soon to be a winemaker, wine bar, restaurant, bottle shop maker.
Yes.
It's awesome.
It's like don't give me more than what I already have on my plate.
And I was reading your LinkedIn post a few months ago when you wrapped up and concluded a 12-year career at F5.
Yeah.
And you're making a pivot to a great new business in downtown. When did you make that decision? What's the origin story around WeRise Wine?
I know it's a bit of a tongue twister.
I'll get
it. Well, to tell you the truth, I've always loved wine. When I was doing my MBA program, I did an international business class that was over in France. And so that was my first experience of learning all about wine. And from there, I've just just been a connoisseur, if you will, of learn about wines, going to wine country, etc. And actually for a few years, I have had friends say, why don't you do something in the wine industry? And I always jokingly was like, can you make money doing that? But then a couple of years ago, I went to a wine dinner. Marcia Jones, she's the owner of Urban Connoisseurs, and she puts on these wine dinners that are focused on diversity in wine, specifically focused on Black people in wine. And I went to a celebration of women in wine, Black women in wine dinner, and I was blown away. We talk a lot about diversity and inclusion and the difference it makes when you see someone who looks like you doing something. There were about 8 winemakers there, all Black women. And my first thought was oh my gosh, I didn't know this many Black women specifically were making wine. Not that, and it's
Are they based in Washington or outside of Washington?
Inside and outside of Washington. So I would say most of them for up and down the West Coast. And of those 8 or 9, I knew I was a member of one, Frechette, and heard of La Chalet, which is out of Woodinville. And the others I had never heard of, tasted their wine, it was great. But it was that event that got me thinking, and most of those women had left corporate America to start their wineries. So that was the thing that kind of really piqued my interest. And then from there had me starting to just learn more. I'm very passionate about diversity and inclusion. And if there was a way I could marry my passion for D&I with something that I enjoy, and then taking a lot of my operational corporate background and putting that to use in what could come up, and WeRise is what came out of that.
Did you think of doing this sort of on the side and keeping your corporate job at F5? You had a long career there, very successful. Did you think I could do this on the side and keep doing my day job?
Not really. Truthfully, I was ready for a change. I thought that change would be me going to another tech company or another, mid-sized, large corporate company. And when this idea came up, it was more of, well, let's see how much can I do alongside my day job. And I would say it wasn't even 6 months in before I realized, okay, if I'm going to do this, I need to put everything into this and let's make this as successful as possible. So, it was something. So I guess to answer your question, I kind of toyed with the idea, but I know how I am, that I'm either all in, it's all or nothing, that I had to make that decision that I needed to be all in.
So you went to that dinner with the idea of maybe one day I'd do this, and it was that dinner and the connections and learnings from Black women in the industry that was sort of sealed the deal for you. Is that
so?
How you tell
I
it?
would say that sealed there might actually be something here in wine that I could do. And it started me asking more questions, reaching out to winemakers, especially ones that I already knew. And if they were female, of asking, why don't I see you more in Seattle? Why don't I see you on the shelves of Total Wine or the grocery store, et cetera? And just starting to learn more about what's the operational journey of wine, and then where are the gaps. And as I learned more about that, I started toying with is there a way to bring the wine to where the people are, and really getting some broader access, broader awareness of some of these labels. And as I dug in there, I started talking to more people, and more people were saying, hey, this is not happening. There's not a lot of people doing this. You should talk to this person. And it just snowballed of having conversations into, okay, I think I have an idea here that wineries want, people want, and it's a way to make an industry that's been traditionally seen as very pretentious and exclusive, to make it inclusive and build more around community.
And tell us about the concept. What will people see at your shop, which will be at 2nd and Stewart? Shop, restaurant, bar, bottle shop.
Event space.
Event space, yeah. I'm really trying not to pigeonhole it, because I know you're wanting to do a lot of things and planning to do a lot of things there. So what can people expect?
Yeah, so what people can expect is, one, I wanted to build an experience that's going to be based off of storytelling. So it's not about just, I want a red or white, suggest something, but people can learn a bit more about the producers. They can learn a bit more about the people behind the bottle. They will experience, because I also, as I was going through this concept of things that speak to people, so that our wines, even on our online bottle shop, they're categorized both by varietal, but then also by diversity. So that if what speaks to you of, hey, I wonder if they have something that's made by someone with Hispanic background, or queer, or a woman, et cetera, that, it gives you a place to kind of start of what's speaking to you, and then really learning and hearing those other stories. The other thing that they will get at WeRise is, it was really important to me to have a kitchen. We're not a full-blown restaurant, but we're definitely more than charcuterie and nuts and kind of that thing, because it was important to me that people could have whatever experience they wanted. And so as people got hungry, we'll have mac and cheese and meatballs and flatbreads. And it's it'll be a really nice menu. And as I'm looking at hiring my chef, I've been working with a chef from a consulting experience of how do we build kind of a Pacific Northwest, almost tapas style. So everything is shareable, but enough that you can have a full meal. And that was really important to me. And then the third thing, like I said, was community. So when I started this, and as I started just envisioning what could a space look like, I wanted something that was warm and opening. And I described it as Starbucks meets wine bar. So there's a mix of both tables and couches and comfy chairs. So if you're by yourself and you just want to drop in after work, check your email and have a glass of wine, there's a space for you. And if you're with a group of coworkers and want to do happy hour and have a full meal, there's a space for you. So it was really important to me to have those different types of experiences in one place, so no one ever felt excluded, singled out, left out, but it was really building an environment that was welcoming.
Like I said earlier, you you have landed at Second and Stewart, or will soon land and open. Why downtown? Did you look other places? Were you looking in other neighborhoods in the city or outside of the city? How'd you land downtown?
So to be quite honest with you, for me, well, actually, let me back up. During the pandemic, I remember just having the idea of it would be fun to open a wine bar at some point. What do they call, blow caution to the wind, get rid of, get out of corporate America. And when it was a dream and just like, one of those kind of fun dreams, it was, I live in West Seattle. Why not open it in West Seattle? I can just walk to work every day up the hill.
Very Parisian, walking to your own
exactly.
wine bar.
So that was the dream before any of this. Once this became a reality and it had a strong mission behind it, there were a few drivers for me. One was, okay, if I'm going to do something that's trying to open up awareness, access, I have to be somewhere where there's a lot of eyeballs. Sure, there's 70,000 eyeballs in, greater West Seattle, but for my mission, I had to be somewhere where I could have several different personas. And so that's corporate persona, residential persona, as well as the tourist persona. So I don't think I could have chose a better spot than where I am to capture all three. Second, and probably even more important, as a longtime downtown worker, and I've been in Seattle for 23 years, it has broken my heart to see downtown, what has happened through downtown through the pandemic. And if I could even do my small part of that revitalization, I really believe in downtown. Workers are coming back. And we've been in kind of this catch-22 of people saying, oh, there's nothing down there. But if no one takes the risk of opening a business downtown, we're never going to recover. So I want to be part of that story, give people a reason to come out, give people a reason to experience downtown and change the narrative about downtown, because we've come such a long way, especially over the last 2 years, and people are still stuck in 2021 of what they think downtown is. And as soon as you ask, have you been down there recently? So I want to give people that reason, and change that perception. Exactly.
Well, we welcome you. That's terrific. And so while we're on the topic, yesterday Amazon announced their
I saw that.
welcoming, bringing, forcing, whatever
right.
word you want to use, folks back to 5 days a week in January. With your former tech hat on at F5 in a number of different roles, including talent acquisition, and now you're about to open on the ground there, and one of those personas will be that downtown worker, as you mentioned. What do you make of this announcement by Amazon?
Well, it's hard to have one. So I had two reactions, right? It's like with my entrepreneur hat on, it's like, great. That means, because one of the things that's a question mark in my head as I go into open is like, what will Fridays look like? You can't depend on Fridays anymore of being one of your busiest days of the week. So I've been prepared for Wednesday and Thursday. Saturday, especially with tourists, residential people who live downtown, but like Friday has been my big question mark. So from a entrepreneur perspective, it's like, oh, this is great. It'll be interesting to watch the data on the analytics of how Fridays perform. Because right now, in my mind, Fridays were probably going to be my weakest day. And so I thought it was great. I put my tech hat on. I put my hybrid hat on. I was more of like, wow, I'm shocked that they're doing this. That's gutsy. And, it's one of those that it's been this clash between the worker and the employer for years, and where people wanted more freedom to work from home. And it was I've always felt like companies have been managing to the exception than to the rule of, oh, this person, people may not work if we let them work from home. So they've always, kept those policies really tight or didn't have policies for working at home at all. And then the pandemic really proved that people work harder, people work longer, you're more productive at home. So to me, the hybrid models have been beautiful from an employee perspective, because now you can go in, you can have the collaboration, but then you can also have a couple of days where you're at home, you're productive. You don't have to, be stressed out in traffic and the commute and all of that. So there's a piece of me just from a human first perspective that it's like, wow, it's like we just went right back into time and the pandemic never existed. And and the learnings there are being ignored. So those were my reactions. And like I said, it's just like I have to look at it from both sides.
Yeah, a little bit of tension,
right? But there's definitely that side that is like, that just sucks.
Do you? I'm just wanting to probe here because you had a 12-year career in tech or with F5. Do you see other tech companies following suit in this region in particular?
I think so. I absolutely believe so, that when you see some of those bigger companies, the Amazon, Microsofts, et cetera, when they make claims like this, it almost paves the way for others to decide to follow suit. It may not be a fast follow suit because I know a lot of employers are still trying to balance out, what their employees want and need, what they want and need, but obviously, it's definitely been shown that, there's more collaboration when you're in the office and, people do get more done. Well, I shouldn't say that. People can be very productive at home, but there's a lot that you get in person that isn't always scheduled. So there's also that intangible work that gets done that you can't always do over a Zoom call or, through a meeting versus someone just popping by your desk. So I think you will see more companies following suit. I personally don't think that it's going to be hey, all of the companies are doing this all at once, because the culture shift is hard. And, and it's just like, and you're going to impact a lot of cultures. And, that's what we all look for when we choose a job is what's the culture of the company. So yes, but it'll be interesting to see how soon that happens.
So back to your space and WeRise Wines. How did you approach finding it? What was your experience as a first-time business owner and soon to be running a ground floor business? Was everybody rolling out the red carpet for you since we have a fair amount of vacancy downtown and people are hungry to get it filled? What was your experience?
It was interesting, but this is where I have to plug the Office of Economic Development. I was telling James in the elevator that they have done a phenomenal job of helping small businesses navigate a lot of what has traditionally been seen as it's really hard to work with the city, and just like all of these archaic processes, et cetera. That's probably still true, but. But I had the benefit of learning about OEDs. They have a consulting program where you can work with a consultant for 10 hours. So I was able to take advantage of that. And it was a lifesaver. And it was a lifesaver because having, being highly educated, working in corporate America for over 25 years, I swear, going to some of these websites of trying to figure out where do I start with, is it the business license? Is it the LLC? Is it, there's no roadmap. Yeah, exactly. And there's almost either not enough information or way too much information that you're just like, oh my gosh, just someone tell me what to do first. So going through that consulting program, it was really helpful because literally the person I worked with was able to say, here, start here. This is the first thing you need to do. Next thing you need to do. And it saved me probably hundreds of hours of trying to figure out if this was even worth it. Also, the city of Seattle offers lease consulting. So I was able to be matched with a lease consultant who ended up being my broker and helping me find spaces, helping me look at spaces because I knew nothing about commercial real estate, obviously. So that was tremendous. And then once I found the space, again, the city of Seattle, they have a permit expediting service for specifically small businesses. And then if you're a minority business, you even get even more prioritized treatment. So it helped me expedite a lot of the permits. So my architect and designer, again, me not knowing what I don't know, they were just like, we've never seen permits go through this quickly. You have no idea. And I'm like, it was like 3 weeks. What are you talking about? That wasn't fast. But now I know, because I was telling James that the one thing I couldn't expedite was the plumbing permit.
It's always the plumbing permit.
So yeah, it was the one thing.
You
I was
wouldn't
just like,
believe how
no.
many people on just this little podcast alone have brought up plumbing permits.
Yeah, so the plumbing permit, it took about 3 months. We thought it was going to take about 2 months. So we thought we'd have it in hand end of July, early August. We just got it last week.
And this is from King County Public Health?
This was King County Public Health, yeah. And that was the only thing that we couldn't expedite in any kind of way. So
I think we need some more plumbing permit inspectors.
Yes, exactly. Apparently, they've been hiring more.
Okay, that's good.
So, but other than that, like I said, leaning into the resources that the city of Seattle made
How'd you know
night and day.
to go there? How'd you know to go to OED?
Now that's a different that. Some was just from connections. As when I was at F5. I was on the mayor's, it's called the One Civic Partner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I represented F5 on that. So through my work with that, obviously I have connections to the city. So when I mentioned it to someone, she was like, oh, you should look into this. And then actually the person who ended up being my consultant, this was kind of funny, is that he's a friend of mine. We were just meeting to catch up. And it was like, oh, what have you been doing? He's like, oh, I've been doing this thing with the city. I was like, oh, I've been doing something with the city. I'm like, what are you doing? And he told me, he's like, oh, I'm a consultant. I was like, oh, well, I'm on the other side. And he's like, oh, hey, we should work together. So, yeah, I think there could be better kind of advertisement about all the programs that are out there. So a lot of it has been through connections or just kind of finding out about them from other people.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's a great story and testimony, and shout out to
Markham
McIntyre, the director over there, and his team.
Exactly.
That's sort of the way it should work, right? In
right.
Environment like this where we got lots of space and we got people who are bringing ideas forward and willing to make an investment and take a risk, and let's get out of their way.
Exactly. And one of the things I loved about the building that I went into, they had said the reason they chose my project was they're just like, this will be a great amenity for our building, for our residents. Mm-hmm. So I love
got a bunch of apartments above
right,
you,
exactly.
100. Yeah.
Exactly. And to me, I love that was the thinking behind it. It wasn't like, oh, we want somebody who's super established, et cetera. But when you said taking a risk, it just made me think like they're willing to take that risk to, one, give something back to not only their apartment and resident community, but also you're giving back to Seattle by having that type of having that type of mentality and thought process.
Have you thought about living up there? You wouldn't even have a walk. You could just take an elevator down to your shop.
Well, no, I'm not moving, but I do love it over there. I feel like a resident because I'm there all the time, and I can go up to the rooftop, and they have a boardroom. So yeah, it's like my second home.
Was it important for you to have a location in a residential building, or was that not a factor?
I really hadn't thought about it of just how great that was. Like for me, it was more about the foot traffic and what's the foot traffic coming by. Because to be quite honest, I was looking downtown or Pioneer Square. There was a spot in Pioneer Square. And obviously I was thinking about Pioneer Square from the stadiums, the stadium traffic, concert traffic, as well as continuing to rebuild as a neighborhood, and you still get a lot of the corporate. You can get that corporate footprint as well. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So it's like, so for me, it was about the foot traffic, finding a place that had kind of built-in regulars, only added to why it was the perfect location.
What's been your experience in trying to find a chef, in hiring, in supplies? And I mean, we hear these horror stories, and maybe it's not the case as much today, but of just the challenges of getting labor and stuff as you're looking to open.
From a supplies and just kind of purchasing what I need, I haven't had any issues. I've been fortunate enough that each step of the way, the people I'm working with, they either have people established that they work with. So I haven't had a lot of like huge lead times or anything like that. So pretty much everything's set to go and just waiting for the space to be ready to move in. From a hiring perspective, this is definitely where I'm leaning into my past corporate experience of I'm just kind of on my hiring journey, but it was really important to me starting out of like, how do I build the brand, get people excited, and it's just like, and I've been pretty much focused on that since day one. And what that has afforded me is having people reach out even as early as March or April of like, hey, when are you hiring? I would love to work with you. So I've had several just informational interviews.
You're spreading the word
right,
early.
Exactly. Yeah. So I already have people that I'm thinking about, like for my bar manager. As far as the chef, like somebody already from my network was like, hey, I know a great chef. I had a conversation with him, as well as posting the role out there so I can talk to a few people. But I'm definitely leaning into my network to find those good people and get those referrals, and then figuring out who matches best with the mission to make sure that I have people who really want to be a part of what we're doing and then grow with us as we continue to evolve.
When you're hiring a chef, are you making them cook for you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Like, are you going to their place? You invite them over? You meet somewhere?
So what I plan to do, so even the chef that I've been working with on a consultant basis, when we were building the menu, and this was one of my big learnings I had no idea, but thankfully people showed up where I needed them, was if you're going to have a kitchen, you have to start with your kitchen, which means you have to start with your menu. And so back in January, so in December, I met the person I've been working with. And January, we built out the menu. And then by late January, early February, she came over. She cooked the whole menu. I would have had more friends. Huh?
Where'd she come to?
She came to my house.
Okay.
And she cooked for me. It was like me and 3 friends. I literally should have had like 8 or 9 people. We were so full. But just to know and it's just like, and that was my first time understanding what a test kitchen is that, it's not just about putting the words on paper and this sounds good. It's just like, let's test it. How are the ingredients? How does everything taste? And this is what you're going to want any chef to do. So like the one chef that I've talked to already, that's our next thing, is setting up a test kitchen. I'm going to have them come to my house. I'll have some people over, because I also, not only do I want to see how they cook, but also how they work under stress. So also coming up with different scenarios that they may not even be aware of.
Say more.
Right. Well, so think about it, is that they may have, I'll give them the menu to cook, but maybe I'll have someone say, hey, I don't do dairy. What are you going to do about that? I'm allergic to X, Y, or Z. And just get a sense of like, how do they pivot on a dime?
Yeah.
Because those are the kind of things that are going to happen in a restaurant, right? That someone's going to have something super obscure. And it is like, how are you going to pivot in that instance? Or, maybe as someone's running, late or something. Like I'll figure it out, and I'm still working with my chef, consulting with my other chef who's been helping me, just to kind of build those scenarios to see how do we test it. So not only is the food consistent and what we expect, but let's kind of throw in some kind of surprise. So
your friends that are coming over have some role playing to do.
So they'll have some role playing to do. Yeah. So I'll be doing that in early October. I want to get a couple of chefs lined up so that I can just like do all the test cooking in the month of October.
Do you have a date for opening yet?
Not yet. Yeah. So we have a lot of work to do over the next 6-8 weeks. So like I said, we're targeting November. Hopefully it'll be mid-November. I will be so happy when I have a date that I can start telling people.
Yeah.
But we're definitely getting close. And now that we're over the plumbing permit, things should start, knock on wood.
Plumbing permit.
Should start rolling pretty smoothly now.
Are there other places in Seattle that you love that were inspirations in creating this, or is it so unique in your own that you're not trying to grab little bits of the experience or the menu or the vibe from other places you love? You're trying to create something brand new.
So I would say that it didn't start off as an inspiration, other than when I think about the experience of thinking about a Starbucks, a place where anybody feels like, okay, I can drop in, I can, do what I do. So Starbucks would probably be the closest thing that I think about in the experience, that you go there, you meet people for coffee, you go in, and if you just want to, sit down, have a cup of coffee by yourself and be on your computer or whatever, no one's looking at you sideways. And to me, having that kind of welcoming experience was really important to me. So I would say my biggest role model from a experience, warmth, vibe, and feel is Starbucks. But then thinking about the coffee shop. Then thinking about the wine bar. Sorry, talking too much about Starbucks, thinking about coffee. But then thinking about that wine bar experience. And then when I think about that wine bar experience, it's no one place. But what I find now is like everywhere I go, I'm thinking about, oh, I'd never do that. Oh, I love the feel of this.
Absorbing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I kind of observe everything.
Yeah.
I forget the name, but there's a bar in the Spheres.
Deep Dive?
Deep Dive, yeah. Like went in there and it's just like, ooh, I love the way this feels. This is,
It's a vibe.
So it's those kind of things that I walk into now. It's just like, I like this vibe. There's another bar down on, I want to say it's First, it's near Umi. But they have a nice little vibe in there. So I'm always looking at colors. Yes, that's it. So, so those are examples of the types of places that I walk into, and they have the type of feel that I want people to feel when they come in.
You're not going to have a cocktail program, though, are you?
No. It's
Strictly
just,
wine.
Wine, a little bit of beer. I'll probably have 1 or 2 taps for beer, but strictly wine right now. I wanted to try to stay focused.
Where are your favorite spots in Seattle to eat and drink right now?
Ooh, that's a hard question. Well, El Nido in West Seattle, Italian, is the Italian spot that was El Corvo.
Yeah.
Just love that place. Just the food's excellent, great location.
I miss El Corvo.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Just quick story about El Corvo. Right before the pandemic, because F5 is just like right up the street from there, a friend of mine was like, hey, let's go to lunch tomorrow. Great. She puts 10:30 on my calendar for lunch. I'm like, why did you schedule lunch for 10:30? She was like, that's the time we need to go. Like, okay. Had no idea what I was into.
Yeah.
And we walked down at 10:30 and the
Still
line's
line.
already around the corner. I'm like, what time does this place open? She's like, 11:30. I'm like, oh my gosh. So my first time having El Corvo, I was just like, this better be worth it. And then we finally got in there. I was like, okay,
you get
this was worth it. So, so love El Nido. Where else right now? Ooh, this is actually over in Kirkland though, so I don't know if it counts. But
there's some good places over there.
Arlena's.
Oh, I don't know Arlena's.
So Arlena's, are you familiar with Island Soul in
in Columbia City?
So Columbia City, same owners.
Oh,
they opened like a upscale Island Soul in Kirkland. Fantastic. So anyway, so those are like two of the spots. Well, El Nido's like always a spot, but Arlena's I just went to about a month ago, going back next month, and just loved it.
James, make sure to edit out that Kirkland mention from Seattle City Makers. No, I love Kirkland. They got a great downtown, actually.
They do.
What's the Italian? Cuomo and El Canto over there?
Yes.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah, sorry to have to bring in Kirkland. I almost never bring in the East Side to anything.
Kirkland's got it going on. They got some good wine bars over there, too.
They do. That's true.
Tasting rooms and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
So November for, we hope for an opening day, which feels like a great month to open a
I think it'll be good.
bottle shop, wine bar.
It's right before
Get in,
the
get
holidays.
cozy.
Yeah, exactly.
Take a seat on the couch. Be alone around other people.
Exactly.
Yeah, or bring your friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love it. Jamila, we conclude with a couple of standard questions on our podcast. What was your first job? Were you you took a paycheck?
First job was a receptionist at my mom's CPA's office. My mom, when I was 17, she was like, "You're not flipping burgers," or it's like I was looking forward to doing the fun stuff, and she was like, "I'm gonna have you work for our accountant," which was great because my undergrad is in accounting, and I worked there through tax seasons while I was in college. So
that was pretty influential.
So it was very influential. Yeah, I was only 17-year-old walking around talking about depreciation and amortization. So that was my first job.
Are you gonna have burgers and WeRise wine? I'm gonna get this right before you open. That you can flip because you could finally have that.
Well, we're not
going
to have gas, and we're not going to have the whole hood thing.
It doesn't seem like it fits.
So yeah, exactly. Because trust me, I'm from Buffalo, so one of my favorite things is chicken wings.
Whoa, you're from Buffalo.
I'm from Buffalo. Yes.
I was born in Buffalo.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite things is chicken wings. And when I was first starting, I was like, I'm gonna have wings on the menu. And then it was like, you can't have wings on the menu. And I was just like, I still haven't given up. I'm like, okay, for now, wait until I get my chef.
Do you make wings at home?
I do. I do. Yes. I am very picky when I go places and they say buffalo wings.
Yeah. Have you found good wings in Seattle? Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. No. So, like, if I have a hankering for buffalo wings, I usually just make them myself.
So, when did you? How long were you in Buffalo?
I moved when I was young. I was like 9 or 10.
Okay, same.
But I go back. Like, I have a ton of family there. I was just back there in August, so I go back all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there's a good Buffalo contingent out this way.
Yeah. Do you ever go to the Bills Bar?
Over in South Lake Union?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Art Marble.
That's right.
Yeah.
I haven't, but I know about it. Did you grow up a Bills fan?
Oh, yeah.
Same.
Even before I was ever into football, it was, you will be a Bills fan.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, come on, Josh Allen, you got to get this done this year.
Yeah, pull it together. You know our downtown council member, Bob Kettle's a Buffalonian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Buffalo.
Yeah, shout out to Buffalo.
So you worked in the CPA firm, and that was pretty influential to your trajectory.
Yeah,
That's great.
exactly.
Yeah. Our final question is, what's your perfect Saturday in Seattle if you're designing it from morning till the evening? What are you doing?
Sleeping in, because I don't get enough of that. Going for a long walk. I love West Seattle, especially going down to like Lincoln Park. Maybe playing some pickleball. We have some nice pickleball courts over in West Seattle. And then evening, probably El Nido. If I had to plan it from beginning to end, that would be the day.
Sounds great. I got to get over to El Nido. I haven't been there. But.
Yeah. Oh, you should check it out. It's very nice.
Okay, final question. On the first night of opening, not like when you have an opening party and events and like friends and family soft, but like the first official night, how do you see yourself in your spot? What are you doing? What's your role? How are you engaging? Are you like fussing with the decor? Are you greeting people? Are you in the kitchen? Are you pouring wine?
So ideally, I see myself greeting people, talking to people, checking in on the experience, probably helping to pour some wine, but just kind of making sure the experience flows and just the process, operational side in me, just like, okay, what's not working well? What do we need to tweak later, kind of thing. But that's what I see. That's how I envision myself, and that's really how I want to be engaged in the business. That I want my staff, I want them to have the same passion of how we drive and deliver experience, so that I can be out doing things that are continuing to drive the business forward, continuing to meet with winemakers, making partnerships with different companies to come in and do events. So, it's just like I really want to get that dialed in tightly.
I love it. Can't wait. And you're not far from our spot here.
I know. I'm only I'd say about an 8-minute walk from here.
Yeah, exactly. We'll be there. We look forward to November or whatever date you open. And congratulations on
Awesome.
your progress. And it's a great story to hear of the partnership and support you've gotten from the city and your landlord, and that it hasn't been that arduous, and it didn't take you a couple of years to get those permits, and you're going to
Right.
be open soon. So
Yeah, no, it's been good. Thank you for having me. This has been really fun.
absolutely. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Well, hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jamila. I can't wait to get in and check her spot out. It just sounds fantastic and a great location over there, a block or so from the market. Congratulations to her for what she soon has open. Great to have another new spot in downtown Seattle, another late night spot with great food and drink. And thanks again to her for making time. I want to close out with a recommendation of what you got to check out in downtown Seattle, and want to highlight and lift up the opening of the Overlook Walk, which got a lot of press and attention, well-deserved press and attention. Opened in early October. The connection between the backside of the Pike Place Market and the new waterfront spanning across Alaskan Way and over top the new Ocean Front Pavilion, the new expansion to the Seattle Aquarium. It's fabulous. If you haven't been down there, it's an incredible vista and vantage point back to downtown and out to Elliott Bay and the Olympics. It's, I think, going to be the new must-see, iconic spot to visit and explore and experience in Seattle. It's phenomenal. So go check that out, and much more to come with other elements of the waterfront park opening over the next several months, and the whole thing will be done in February or March-ish of 2025. So congratulations to all those who played a role in bringing this incredible achievement to our city, an incredible experience. Go check it out. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this episode of Seattle City Makers, presented by the Downtown Seattle Association, with support from James Cito and production by Spark Creative.